Ole Miss moves to 9-0 with a 13-3 run rule thrashing of Southeast Missouri. Let's react to it. This is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, the most watched Ole Miss podcast out there. I'm your host, Stephen Willis, a 10-year veteran member of the national media with Yahoo Sports and a former Ole Miss staff member as well on the football side. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the number one sports podcast network in the entire country. That is all because of you taking in content like this, and we could not be more appreciative of that. On today's show, we're going to talk and react to Will Furniss hitting a walk-off 3-run home run against Southeast Missouri to run rule them 13-3. We'll talk about the Houston baseball tournament. I had a conversation a little bit earlier tonight with Chad Smith. We'll go over that a little bit. We'll take your comments and concerns. So if you comment on the video, put where you're commenting from. I do want to shout that out. The second segment of the show is all about you if there are comments in there. So feel free to leave that as well. All of this and more is coming up on today's Locked On Ole Miss podcast. Remember, we're free and available on all the podcast apps and on YouTube. And a special hello to the insiders and everydayers who make the show what it is, your team every day. And this is also your opportunity to win a trip to the NBA Finals just by betting on FanDuel futures of NBA games. So if you do that, you'll be automatically entered, and you have an opportunity to go see the NBA Finals no matter where you think that is going to be. All right. First of all, Will Furniss got his extra base groove on in this game. He absolutely did. They didn't pitch the ball very well to start off with. It was kind of concerning in the beginning, but they were able to figure it out as it went, and they kind of slammed the door on Southeast Missouri. Southeast Missouri got a run in the first and second inning, and that was basically about it. They did score one in the third, but it was basically the first and the second inning. They scored twice. In that same period of time, Ole Miss scored 9 runs. So that's what we're looking at. The game was basically over at the end of the first inning, if we're going to be honest. The game-winning run in this game happened at the start of the second or something like that. So that is what went on. Dom Decker, 0 for 2, and you're like, he went 0 for 2. And then you realize he had 2 walks, scored a run, had a weird error in the field, but he had a decent day as well. Judd Udermark got a single in the first inning that got the scoring going. He was 1 for 3 on the day. Will Furniss, 2 for 4, had 4 RBIs, including the 3-run bomb at the end of the game. Tristan Becerra, 3 for 4, 2 RBIs. The guy's just a weapon. He already has more RBIs this season than he had last year at Clemson. Now, granted, that was an injury-shortened season for him. Colin Reuter, 2 for 4, hit a nice double in this game, I believe, had an RBI. Golden was 1 for 4. Topher Jones, 2 for 4. Braden Randall, 1 for 3. And Hedden Federico went 0 for 2 in the game, but he did have a walk that he came home to score a run. Pitching-wise, Hayes was about 50-50 on balls and strikes. Anybody that watches this channel and this show and all of that going back over, it's always about strike throwing, owning the zone. That's what the Detroit Tigers do. And whenever I compare anything, I compare to what the Detroit Tigers do, especially pitching the ball. And they believe in owning the zone, which means they do not like balls. They like you to attack. So if you can't throw a pitch for a strike, you're not going to throw the pitch, if that makes sense. Ole Miss was about 50% to start the game. Hayes was 24 strikes out of 43 pitches to begin the game, and that gave up 2 runs to Southeast Missouri. That kind of got them going a little bit. Ole Miss, Owen Kelly pitched 2 2/3 inning. He was much better, 21 strikes and 32 pitches. And then they just started going deep into their bullpen to try and get ready for this weekend's game. It was a rather ho-hum game, if we're going to be completely honest about it. It was a game that Southeast Missouri never really had a chance in it. It was one that Ole Miss just kind of took care of business. There was no drama. There was no this happened or this happened. You got a home run. Judd Udemark almost hit another one. It just drifted foul on him. He leads the country currently in home runs. It was kind of a ho-hum game, which for a midweek game, you want a ho-hum game. Arkansas State beat Arkansas like 12-3 in Fayetteville tonight. You want a ho-hum midweek game. It's about stacking wins. You hear me talk about that all the time. Stacking wins in the non-conference. So when the conference play hits, you have a little bit more margin for error. And Ole Miss, to this point, 9-0. There's not a whole lot that you could ask for other than that. 9-0 going into this weekend with Baylor, Ohio State, and Coastal Carolina. It's going to be a more difficult tournament. We talked to Chad Smith. He didn't have a lot of respect for Baylor. Obviously, I don't have a lot of respect for Ohio State. We both think the game against Coastal Carolina is going to be the game of the weekend, but it's indoors. It's in Houston. We will talk about that along with your questions in just a second. When we come back, it's going to be about your comments and things like that. And if they're not there, we're going to shut the live stream down and get ready for the SEC squad show that I have to film in about 30 minutes at this point. So kind of up against the clock on that. If you have any comments, please put where you're commenting from. We'd love to shout that out whenever we're talking about it in the next segment. But this is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. This is Mazda's moving the game forward. For those who show there's more to the score than what's on the screen. This weekend, Dom Decker hit a home run in the sweep of Missouri State. And the way he plays the game is just kind of winning baseball. He's that annoying player that can get under your skin. And this is the type player that Ole Miss has lacked in the last couple of years. And Ole Miss right now is 9-0, and I don't know if they would be 9-0 without Dom Decker on the roster, honestly. So we'll see exactly how that goes, because it reminds us what it takes to raise the bar. Doing that extra work on the field or court, dialing in every detail, giving it that extra fire, that grit, that I never quit. We put that same passion into every model at Mazda. Highlights make the real. What it took to get there makes it count. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. Go to your local Mazda dealership and test drive one today. Hey, have you ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you that opportunity to turn that dream into a reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on NBA Future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win a NBA Finals trip for two. That's right. Flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board, thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock in. I love futures this time of year, whether it's picking a team to win the championship or grab conference titles. It adds that extra layer of excitement to every game down the stretch. And now you can not only pick cash, but it can also send you there to the finals. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use the profit boost on NBA futures and get entered for a chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And listen, when it comes to everything that's going on with Indeed, you have to make the hire that you need to make. If you do not make that hire, you will get in trouble for it. If your inbox is clogged up, if there's deadlines stacking up, if the one position that you have to fill, if it's still sitting open, you're going to have to pay for that. So when the pressure's on, you need to make the right hire. That is the job for Sponsored Jobs. Indeed, Sponsored Job helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for, skills, experience, and location, so you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this job is for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show will get $75 in sponsored job credit to help your job get the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard it here about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. If you need to hire, this job is for Indeed sponsored jobs. Hey, do us a favor, like, subscribe, and comment on the video. Subscribe to the podcast on whichever audio podcatcher you're listening to and give it a 5-star review. It costs nothing, but it keeps all of this free. Thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Ole Miss with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and more, all for just $5 a month or $50 per year. Go to lockedonolemiss.supercast.com or check the link down in the show notes to learn more. All right, so we're going to go into your comments right here. This was not, I'm not going to say it was a big win, but 9-0 is nothing to sneeze at for Ole Miss, and going into this tournament over the weekend, that's going to be a big deal. So, David Bell says, how come Ole Miss is not rated in the top 20 for baseball? Well, they are on Baseball America. They're ranked 11th. They're number 1 right now in the RPI. They're 25th in D1 baseball. We're at the point of the year where there's a lot of numbers back and forth, and there's not a whole bunch of agreement of what's going on, if that makes any sense. But right now, depending on the poll that you look at, Ole Miss is starting to get respect and starting to move up the polls. So we'll see exactly how that looks going into it after this Houston tournament, because listen, if Ole Miss wins 3 games in Houston and starts out 12-0, they're going to be like 18th in the country at the lowest on whatever poll that it's in. They'll be in the top 10 in Baseball America, and RPI will be exactly where they were. That Coastal Carolina game will be a little bit of a bear. It will. This is a team that finished 2nd in the nation a year ago. They're a good baseball program. They're a proud baseball program. They're going to put up a fight. But I talked to Chad Smith tonight for a show that's going to air tomorrow about this weekend's game. And he's not overly concerned about Baylor. He's not overly concerned about Ohio State. It's about that Coastal Carolina game as well. And one thing to look at, this weekend's a weird game. You're not going to be able to watch it on SEC Network Plus the way that you're used to watching it. If you go to astros.com/YouTube, it'll take you basically to the YouTube page. Or you can just look at the astros.com YouTube page on YouTube, and you can watch the game there. And if you have a Roku or Amazon Fire or anything like that, download the YouTube app. You can put it on that and watch it just like normal. It's not stuck on a computer screen or device. That is the way you can see it. The game times are at like 11 o'clock Central, 10 o'clock Central, and I think 2 o'clock or something like that Central. 6 teams in Houston is the same thing that you're used to seeing in Arlington, Texas. But when Ole Miss is in a situation like this, this is training for regional action whenever you face a different team every single day. And it's not just playing a 3-game series. So something to keep an eye on as well. William Bronson says this weekend we'll find out who we are in Houston versus Baylor, Ohio State, and the big matchup Sunday versus Coastal Carolina. I agree there. I agree to exactly what happens there. Chasing the MP says, who do you think is the leader in the wide receiver room and who has the potential to be the #1 jersey wearer? This is a football question. I'll answer it, even though it's baseball. There's 2 major candidates right now for the #1 jersey. I know Deuce Alexander is trying to go from 11 to 1. He's kind of the leader in the clubhouse at the moment. But Jonte Cook is also trying to get the #1 jersey. The reason I think that is the case is I think Deuce Knight has been promised the #2 jersey for Ole Miss. So we'll see exactly what happens. I think it's going to be Jonte Cook or Deuce Alexander. I think Deuce Alexander is the leader in the clubhouse at the moment. Hunter Elliott on Fridays is key. He struggled last week with control. We must have him eat innings to save bullpen and win. Basically, if you can get through a Friday game and it's Hunter Elliott and Hudson Calhoun are the only two pitchers they've used, I think Mike Bianco would take that. I think that's what he's shooting for. He's not expecting a complete game from Hunter Elliott. So if you use only two guys, you're probably in good shape. It probably is going to be three, including the closer for the ninth inning in any usual situation. But yeah, you are pretty much right on there as well. And William also says, do you think Ole Miss will make a regional this year? And this is from Smyrna, Tennessee. I do think Ole Miss is going to make a regional. I think they're equally as talented as they were a year ago. Last year, they hosted a regional. I get the fact that the SEC schedule this year is a grueling, just bear. Absolutely horrible. But Ole Miss as a baseball team seems to be a little bit better than they were a year ago. The more contact, less striking out. The fielding, everybody's going to gnash their teeth about the fielding earlier on in this season. But when it looks at it, they're actually more competent than it looks. Their lineup is constructed well. They're pitching the ball out of this world at the moment. Yeah, I think they're pretty good. Now, I don't know they're pretty good. I want to see this weekend to see exactly how good they are, but I think they're pretty good. So, yeah, I think that Ole Miss hosts a regional this year. I think they figure out a way to win games, but that SEC slate is coming up. Now, remember, Ole Miss won a national championship going 14-16 in the SEC. That happened. They went 14-16 in the league, won the national title. So whatever it takes to get into the tournament, that's going to be the most important piece. This weekend, check out on YouTube. Remember, download the YouTube app on Roku or Amazon Fire TV or whatever your streaming apparatus is so you can search and find the Ole Miss game on Friday or Saturday. If you do that, you'll be in pretty good shape of what's going on. I've got SEC squad I have to do. Thank y'all for showing up tonight. We'll be doing live streams throughout this weekend on Ole Miss Baseball as well. So thanks again. Hotty toddy, everybody. And Ole Miss 9-0. It's a big deal. Take care, guys.